Hey guys! Today I will show you how you can revamp your old wall clock into a beautiful watercolor art piece. It is super easy and fun to make. For this project you are going to need a wall clock, watercolors of your choice. Here I'm using Watercolours by Schmincke. You will also need brushes and watercolor paper. Begin by removing the front side of the clock. We want to use the glass as a guideline and trace it onto the watercolor paper. But you can also use a compass to be more precise. Now dip your brush into some clear water and begin applying a small amount of water to one of the areas inside the circle. We want to paint wet and wet to create a light layer of paint with a gradient effect. From here, start adding your desired colors onto the paper. I'm using blue, purple, pink, and green color that I added to different areas. Once you added the paint to the paper, lightly blend them into each other. Be sure to avoid using too much water, or otherwise the different colors will start running into each other way too much. Let everything dry and we can move on to the next step. To speed up the drying process, you can use a hairdryer. Now we can go ahead and add another layer of paint to make the design more vibrant. Use a wet brush loaded with paint and start adding more paint to the paper the same way as we did before. I'm using almost the same colors I used for the first layer, just with less water. And don't worry if the painting looks a bit weird during the process. Everything will look a lot different and nicer once it's dry. When everything is completely dry, we can go ahead and add the details. For this step, I'm using this pigment ink pen in white, but you can also use acrylic paint and a small brush or any other white pens you have. Just try it out first. Begin by drawing simple lines starting at one side. From here, create triangle shapes by connecting and dividing the lines. I didn't have a specific design in mind, I just added line after line without overthinking. Create triangles and lines in different sizes to create more dimension. You can really just play around with it and have fun. Once I got an idea during the drawing process, I wanted these shapes to look like as if they would start growing from the center and spill all over the painting. So I just kept creating more and more triangle shapes around the circle and made them move towards the center. But you can design it the way you want it. Once you're happy with the final design, it's time to cut out the circle. If you can't see the guideline anymore, you can just redraw it and then cut it out. Now we can add the design to the clock, but first we need to carefully remove the watch hands. Pull them upwards, holding them right at the center of the clock to take them off, or they will just bend. With the help of a black marker, I added a dot to the center of the glass and transferred it by pressing it down onto the back side of the paper. But again, if you're using a compass or ruler, this will be a lot easier, but it works this way as well. Now with a pencil, create a hole in the paper. It has to be wide enough to not interfere with the hands. And since my circle was a bit bigger as I needed it to be, I cut it a little bit smaller. Test out if the circle fits onto the clock face perfectly, and now we can attach everything together. Since I didn't want to glue on the painting permanently, but also didn't want it to move around, I added a little bit of glue on a few areas to hold everything in place. But if you don't mind, you can also glue everything together more properly. Oh, and don't forget to make sure that the clock face is actually at the right place when you apply the circle. You might have a specific design in mind and don't want to get confused with the time. Now we just need to reassemble the clock. First the short hand, then the minute hand, and then finally the second hand. See if the clock hands are in the right shape and don't interfere with each other while moving around. Once everything is reassembled, you are done. Don't worry if your wall clock is a bit different to mine, the main steps are still the same. I'm really happy how the wall clock turned out. This clock looks so magical and dreamy, and it was really fun to create it as well. I hope you enjoyed this DIY and found it helpful. Don't forget to share your recreations with me by tagging me on Twitter, Instagram or Facebook. To see them really makes my day. Thank you for watching everyone, have a wonderful day and see you next week.